Have you ever looked at a speedrun and went, "That's too fast. I like speedruns, but I hate that I can't waste an entire day just watching one." Well, your really odd and specific problem may have a solution. By digging through the most hidden and questionable parts of speedrun.com, I have scraped together the longest speedruns of all time. So in my shortest speedrun video, I had to set some kind of definition for short, and obviously here, I now need to do that, but for long. A long speedrun can vary for a lot of people, and some people may regularly run games that take at least a couple hours, but to people who mainly run categories under 10 minutes, playing for an hour could seem like an eternity. For simplicity's sake, I have taken two types of runs. One, which are getting into the pretty long territory, and two, which push the extremes of the word long and span all the way up in the hundreds of hours. Before anyone whines, these may not be the top longest runs of all time, but are the bunch that I found the most interesting to talk about for today. Let's go the opposite way from last time and climb our way up from the shortest run I have, which starts us off with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I feel like I'll get 100,000 comments if I don't at least mention this game, so wait, maybe I should skip over this so people will comment. First, there's Digimon World 2 on PlayStation with the any percent record clocking in at 16 hours and 59 minutes. Running this kind of game is not for the faint of heart, and it's not just because of the length, it's because of how brutal the RNG is in every aspect of the game. This is a dungeon crawler RPG released towards the end of the PlayStation's life, and while casually randomness may not matter, in speedruns though, oh boy it does. Princess Rescuer on Speedrun.com wrote up a really great thread about why this game is quite a nightmare to run. Pretty much everything you can think of in this game is unpredictable. Floor positions, trying to capture a Digimon even being where you want it, items you shoot at Digimon, and even getting a Digimon to join you. On top of the RNG, the game has questionable mechanics that are pretty unforgiving at times. One example is the status effect of being confused. If you get confused, your Digimon will always hit themselves or an ally. Another stressful factor is how many special items you need in order to get past barriers that block you from moving forward. There really isn't any warning if you're close to approaching one, and on top of that, your inventory is very limited, so you may have to worry about what you're already carrying. To add on to that, every attack animation in the game is painfully long. This quickly gets infuriating when you get back-to-back 3-on-3 matchups. On top of everything else that may already drain you, this game requires a serious amount of grinding. You'll be doing plenty of dragged out battling in order to level up your Digimon. To make it even worse, Digimon can't gain more than one level per battle, even if they have enough XP to do so. Speedrunning this game seems like the equivalent of speedrunning adulthood, where no matter what you do, you're randomly waking up to some bill that you're forced to pay. A handful of brave souls have been able to tackle this run over the years, and K-Hearts was the first to do so in 2014, with a time of over 30 hours. This run was very sloppy, but the fact that it even exists is an achievement on its own. Heading into 2016, both Z Chaotix and Smartball would trade records back and forth. Chaotix was the first with a 24-hour time, and Smartball getting very close to the sub-20 hour territory entering 2017. One thing to note is that there are two routes that have been worked on for the category, but even those warn you that they are secondary resources, rather than a proper step-by-step guide due to RNG. Anyways, with times being cut so much over the years, it shows how inconsistent and unpredictable this game is. In 2018, Chaotix got a 17-hour time, and finally in late 2020, Smartball got what is the current record with a time of 16 hours, 59 minutes, and 58 seconds, just barely reaching a new hour barrier. A couple other runners have surprisingly tackled this, but it's safe to say this will never be a popular run due to a plethora of reasons. The second game we got is Pokemon Channel, a GameCube title that some probably wouldn't call a proper game. I guess if you had to categorize this, you'd call it an adventure simulation. It's like trying to describe doing taxes as an exciting math adventure. No matter how you sell it, it's not going to make any sense. The entire setting of this game is one room in a house with a few outdoor areas. Most of your time though will be spent TV channel surfing on a network developed by Professor Oak. I guess Pokemon also have to worry about Big Brother as well. Getting the speedruns, there's two categories, any percent and 100%. For today's purpose, we will of course dive into 100%. This requires collecting pretty much every little thing you can get in the game. There are 330 total nice cards, which are collected from either having Pikachu speak to other Pokemon, or by ordering them from Shop and Squirtle. You also need to collect a 4-leaf clover, which is very rare, but once you collect one, you don't have to worry about it moving forward. Lastly, like stated before, you need to collect one of every inventory item, including ones the game does not keep count of, such as wallpapers or picture frames. Hairstrike was the first person to do this in one session, with a time of 20 hours and 14 minutes. Before this run, he made a 24-page guide that goes step by step on what to do throughout the run. You'll see also that Hairstrike on his layout is using a checklist program to keep track of every collectible needed throughout the run. While it's not required, it's not a bad idea considering how many items you need to collect over an entire day's worth of gaming. One of the most critical things to note here is the game uses the built-in clock on the GameCube to simulate proper days in the game, which last around as long as a day in real time. Looking at this guide, you'll see that the game time is constantly changed in order to get to the next day in-game. Imagine if you had to properly wait the full day before being able to do anything new. Two other runners have taken the record in this category over time, with Pants getting a 19-hour 43-minute in April of 2018, but in August, Carpal Tunnel of Love has what is still the current record at 18 hours and 41 minutes, which for some reason seems to have no surviving footage, at least from what I could find. Maybe Professor Oak got upset at how quickly someone got out of his surveillance state. I'd watch out if you decide to play this game. Our third hit for today is Final Fantasy X. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people to instantly pretend that they've played every single series, because I'll be honest, I have not played an ounce of Final Fantasy, but it's definitely something I'd like to try once I don't have 50 other things to do. Anyways, a majority of the Final Fantasy leaderboards you'll notice are divided by platform due to how many of the games having re-releases or simply being cross-platform. The longest category for Final Fantasy X is Nemesis percent, with the longest record being on the PlayStation 2, clocking in at 19 hours, 46 minutes, and 15 seconds. Like some other runs today, any interested players once again are lucky enough to have a couple of guides that vary depending on which version of the game you're playing on. So what is Nemesis percent? Well, you can kind of view it like an extended variant of the Any percent category, which when comparing for the PS2 version, clocks in at around 10 hours. Nemesis percent requires you to defeat the Nemesis Super Boss, which I guess is why whoever started this category did the ugliest speedrun naming cliche ever and slapped a percent sign to the end of something that isn't a percentage. Personal rants aside, a decent amount of people have sank into this, with there being 12 different runners, spanning up to 33 hours. Who needs sleep? Just be glad it's not a true 100%, which would require grabbing a Platinum trophy, which can only be obtained after collecting every other trophy in the game. I saw a Speedrun.com thread discuss this, and a moderator said it would reasonably take 35 hours. Coming from a moderator, I imagine that estimate would be for an already decent player, so it could take even longer. I'll pass, cause I don't even have enough time to play the game as is. Next, let's skip over to Undertale, which, has quite a lot of speedrun categories. For today's sake though, we will instead be focusing on the category extensions leaderboard, with a category labeled True 100%. This requires completing 93 endings, which entails getting all yellow credits, all items, beating every boss, and quite a bit more. Yes, I did say 93 endings. Anyone familiar with the game may be confused at first, and start spamming comments that will go into my spam tab about how there aren't 93 endings in Undertale. So, what's an ending here? Well, a Reddit thread was posted breaking down every unique path you can get in the game, which breaks these down as far as slight text variations that happen based on who you spare or kill. And what was that? You wanted me to say the word guide again? Well, good news! This category has a solid 10-page guide listing every ending with brief instructions, as well as a list with every item you need to obtain. Currently, the record is 27 hours, 14 minutes, and 32 seconds by one of Undertale and Deltarune's top runners, Shay. If you take a look at the category rules, you'll see that you are allowed to pause the timer to take a break and do whatever you want mid-run for up to 12 hours. While you hypothetically don't even need to take a 1-minute break during the run, you best bet Shay 13 hours in took a break to go to bed, and I don't blame him.
Fifth
on our list is Xenogears, an RPG from Square released in 1998. You may be seeing a trend here. A lot of RPGs make for hefty speedruns. This game has quite a drastic difference in category times. By messing with game saves, you can finish a run in under 20 minutes on the Japanese version, but the 100% English record clocks in at 29 hours, 49 minutes, and 48 seconds. This run requires defeating all bosses, getting all weapons, ammo, accessories, other items, abilities, and a list of so many other things that I could blab and blab on about. Again, RPGs are not my strong suit, my name is sadly not Dr. Swellman, but all I can say is that a second person has also run this, which took nearly 44 hours. Luckily, this person did sleep for 7 hours in between, and that's definitely a common trend you'll see among these extremely long runs. Now, our next entry is kind of cheating in a way, but I hope you can forgive me for that. For quite a while now, there has been a multiple Mario games leaderboard that has consisted of multiple categories comprised of goals and multiple Mario games back to back. The most notable is Mario 602. Usually done in live races with a ton of people, the 602 is getting 120 stars in Super Mario 64, 120 stars in Super Mario Galaxy, 120 shines in Super Mario Sunshine, and lastly, 242 stars in Super Mario Galaxy 2. After this being a thing for over 5 years, the record is currently 19 hours and 36 minutes by Odme. Following the initial success of the 602, many other multiple Mario runs have been slapped together, with many of them also being race events, and also relays where players form teams and each of them run their strongest game against the other teams. The longest of these categories is the 3D Mario 1862. This requires the original 4 runs from the 602, and then also adds 380 stars in Super Mario 3D World and all moons in Super Mario Odyssey, which has 880. The fastest time between a relay team has been 31 hours and 35 minutes, but in terms of a solo player, that record goes up to 35 hours and 42 minutes. Reading the run's comments, they decided in the middle of a 602 race to turn the run into an 1862 since the run was going really well. Imagine just randomly deciding during an already long run that you'll add another 13 hours of playing onto that. Definitely not the kind of commitment I have. Speaking of commitments, you should commit to liking the video and subscribing if you're enjoying what you're already watching. Anyways, let's take a step towards the even longer runs. I know, there's more. Have you ever wanted to play a card game for 3 days straight? Well, lucky you. Said wish can be done in Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories on the PlayStation. The world record for the 100% no RNG manip category clocks in at 72 hours and 34 minutes. You'll be happy to know that these players are allowed to pause the timer to take breaks, and I would do that quite a lot because I personally can't play card games for more than an hour. This run requires unlocking all possible 689 cards and all duelists in free duel mode. There are 11 people that have submitted no RNG manip runs, with times going as high as 174 hours. Interestingly, there is one person who has submitted a RNG manip time of 201 hours. I thought manipulating RNG would be a lot faster, but whatever. Next we got Gran Turismo 4 on the PlayStation 2. I was not expecting a racing game to be on this list, but here we are. There is one run under the 100% category that adds up to 230 hours, 35 minutes, and 51 seconds. As you may see on the leaderboard, this time is shared between 4 different people. Since Twitch, the world's biggest game streaming platform, somehow still hasn't figured out something as simple as storing videos properly for extended periods of time, we unfortunately only have about 30 minutes of the stream that took place after the run. Even if you assume each player spent an equal amount of time driving, that would still come out to over 57 hours per player. This is basically the virtual equivalent of doing a road trip for 9.5 hours straight. Desert Bus has some new competition. Up next, we have Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which is an enhanced port of the Zelda-themed hack and slash. This is also the newest game in our list today. There is a segmented 100% category on Speedrun.com, with the fastest entry being 288 hours. Yes, this is segmented, and that means that players can pause the timer and take as many breaks and sessions as possible. This may not be a speedrun in the true traditional sense, but I still think committing to the documentation of a long game's completion, start to end, is still at the very least fascinating. The world record holder, Evan M. Robb, has an entire playlist for this segmented run, which spans across 84 different videos. If you want an even heftier watch, you can also check the second place's 564 hour time with 100 Twitch VODs. Sadly, I have other things to do. Alright, for anyone who is even half tapped into the speedrun community, you may have been waiting for this one. Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings, and the Lost Ocean is a 2003 RPG on the GameCube and has made quite a name for itself in the speedrun scene. You see, its standard new game category is only 11 hours, but if you shift over to the 100% tab, you will notice the record is around a whopping 338 hours, or a bit over 14 days. That may sound scary, but believe it or not, 85% of this run doesn't require gameplay. The length of this run primarily revolves around one item, the shampoo. It takes exactly 2 weeks or 336 hours of gameplay to evolve this into splendid hair. What makes this run a little bit longer is that this evolution pauses whenever you are in menus, and since this is a card-based RPG, frequent menuing is required to do pretty much anything. Luckily, Bafen, I hope I don't butcher that, who's been the most notable runner of the category, has right out of the game so you are truly only playing the game for 3 to 4 hours a day. This allows you to pretty much go about the rest of your time as normal, eating, sleeping, eating, this. Just because you don't play during the entire run doesn't mean the category isn't hard though. Besides having to keep this game on for 2 weeks, you also have to be aware of rewards in the game that you can unintentionally skip. Buffon once lost a run 97 hours in due to this. And also, since Twitch is such a consistent and reliable website, Buffon has also previously been temporarily suspended on the site for non-gaming content when he left his game idle one night to sleep. I'm glad that Twitch focuses on the real problems. While he's held the record in the category for nearly 7 years, in January of 2022, -M demolished the record by nearly 50 minutes with a final time of 337 hours and 55
minutes.
While Buffon has officially retired from the category, his effort at knocking down the time by over 17 hours over the span of many years will never be forgotten. So, Baten Kaitos is the longest speedrun ever, right? Yes, but on Speedrun.com, I believe it or not, was able to find a submitted world record that surprisingly clocks in 190 hours longer at 528 hours, 16 minutes, and 44 seconds. Spider, Rite of the Shrouded Moon is a puzzle-style game released in 2015, and I'll get this out of the way right now, that this is yet another segmented run, but unlike Hyrule Warriors, this is segmented for another reason. This game checks your clock and location to determine whether it should be raining or not in-game, as well as deciding between night or daytime. It also uses this information to gather what phase of the moon cycle you should be in. Normally in-game, there are sections that periodically allow you to swap the weather or time of day in order to get to the next part of the game, but the category No Time Manipulation, well, it doesn't manipulate time. The record holder Snowfats planned the time of year ahead of time and started the game on a waxing crescent moon and ended on a new moon. They have a Google spreadsheet that has this entirely lined out if you're really that curious. Snowfats will tell you straight up that this really shouldn't count as the longest run, as these video recordings that add up to this time are simply isolated speedruns of different sections of the game. The rest of the playtime just comes from how much you have to wait in between each session. While it being the longest speedrun isn't really entirely true, I thought it was still interesting as it seems to officially be the longest logged run of any kind on speedrun.com, and I love if you could find a longer one for me. It may be quite hard to do that. So there you go. Some people like runs they can finish no matter what in under 10 minutes. Others may like runs a bit longer that can take a few hours. And then there's the small, extreme crowd that will spend entire days just focusing on one game. While some of these runs may not be as technically impressive as runs that take a fraction of the time, the simple factor of dedicating so much continuous time on one goal, I think, makes these long runs just as impressive. Got any other really long runs you wish I talked about? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. During the making of this video, I've been preparing to move to a new place, so I really hope that the content has been just as enjoyable, and if you've been liking more of my story-driven content, then stay tuned. I got some pretty good ones coming up. Stay safe, everyone.